Hey, beautiful people. So, I've been this excited for appointment television since maybe like the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones when it was really blowing up and it was super popular and everybody was interested to see what was going to happen and until season 8 happened and everybody got pissed off at least for the most part. I thought it was great, but whatever. So yeah, season or episode 4 of season 1 of The Last of Us dropped last night, and I was stoked. I was ready. I had my remote ready for 7 p.m. to push play. Um, it was going to be a good time. I wanted to see exactly where this was going to be going. The song came popping up into my head. Ellie's got a gun. Ellie's got a gun. As soon as she's standing there in front of the mirror holding that gun and like making those faces, and you can just see like her excitement and having this weapon, this power that she now possesses. It was interesting to see. What I liked about that too is a foreshadowing of, I don't know if you as the viewer, beautiful person, if you played part 2 and you see like some foreshadowing of what's to come with Ellie's character. It's interesting to see that. So I loved her and Joel like starting out, like going and working together, or just driving together, I should say. Him getting the gas, her using that pun book, no pun intended. The Hank Williams music, playing that. The haunting, beautiful imagery. I love those Calgary thunderstorms off in the distance as they're riding on that highway with all the cars, like dilapidated cars being overgrown with moss. Those are all just such amazing visuals. I loved the use of the gay porn mag in the back seat. That joke was awesome. I'm glad that they kept that and retained it from the game. That was fantastic. And then things kind of got a little bit serious, like in terms of how this is going to, like, just in terms of their character arc, I thought, and like them bonding as this new group of people. Like, I don't want to use the word family because that's really not what it is. Even Joel in this episode tells her, "You are not my family." So that's interesting, but what I thought was, his character, like they go and they're camping in the forest, right? And so I was like, there's not clickers there, there's not the infected. And he says, no, they typically stay away from places like this, which kind of makes sense because if the fungus only travels through people, then people are going to be in those condensed areas. So if there's not a lot of people in the forest, why bother? Um, but then she asks, like, she's that. I was listening to the podcast from the creators of The Last of Us. It's got Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, and they're discussing the making of the TV show. And if you want to, I strongly suggest listening to it. There's so much insight about why they do what they do and why they deviate from the game, and really good stuff. I highly recommend that. And and they were basically, talking about how Ellie's at this stage of childhood where she's tuck me in, but fuck you. Like she's this weird combination of still a kid who needs to be comforted, but also becoming, this teenager slash adult who needs her independence and needs to start believing in herself and her own power. And that she really looks up to Joel, that she really desires his approval, or not even necessarily approval because fuck him, right? But she wants to be like him. She wants the power that Joel possesses, like his ability to kick ass and not feel bad about kicking ass, or so it seems. So that's interesting. So I really like, though, that she, in that scene, she's scared. She's scared. I'm going to bed here in the middle of this forest in this flimsy little sleeping bag, and I'm scared. Like, what's going to come at night? What could come at night while I'm sleeping? And Joel kind of listens to that, like briefly reassures her that everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And then they cut to this scene of him standing watch. He's standing there guarding them, guarding her basically, asleep and, holding his gun ready to fight at a moment's notice. And I think that ties back to his inability to protect his daughter, Sarah. Like, he couldn't save her. He couldn't protect her. And he told her that everything would be okay. And of course, we all know that it wasn't. The way that ends for her is her dead. And Joel's worst experience of his life up to that point is losing his daughter. And he'll be damned if that's going to happen again. So even if Ellie's just cargo or whatever at this time, losing her is beginning to feel untenable. And so you kind of watch him starting to give a shit. And that's cool. And so I love the coffee. Like, it smells like burnt shit. That's funny. How dare she? How dare you, Ellie? Coffee's amazing. I like how he talks about Tommy, his brother, and how he talks about him and how he's an idealist, and they describe like that backstory. I never really fully understood in the games, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention as well as I could have, what Tommy was about. And so it was interesting to hear him be explained better, like his idealism and how Joel always felt compelled to protect and save his brother from his brother's idealism. So that was interesting to me. And then we get to Kansas City, which is now taking the place of Pittsburgh. So in the game, they get ambushed in Pittsburgh. In this TV version, it's Kansas City. And I like too that time has passed, so there's this greater sense of, or a greater amount of time that's taken place from when they left Frank and Bill's, and they're now arriving in Kansas City, and it kind of explains the looseness that you feel between Joel and Ellie now. They're a little bit more playful with each other. Joel's far more communicative and talkative, and that makes sense because time has gone by. And we meet this new character, brand new. She is an actress from Yellow Jackets. That's where I know her from. Linsky is her last name, I believe. I'm going to mispronounce it, or I think it's Michelle Linsky or Melissa Linsky. Let me double check. Checked. It's Michelle Linsky. Anyways, and she's in Yellow Jackets, which I've got the first couple of episodes, which is good. It's interesting. She plays this like kind of maternal figure really well, but hides like a malevolence. Like, it's kind of, I'm gonna love you and bake you a pie, but then I'm gonna stab you in the face, kind of vibe. It's interesting. And you can tell like the group of humans is tribalized in Kansas City, in this area. And so there's this uprising with this Henry character, and Kathleen is her name, is trying to find him, and they're killing everybody that they run across, and unfortunately Joel and Ellie get caught up in this, and they're ambushed, and they basically have to flee their vehicle and run into the city, and it's all very dramatic, and there's this big fight, and one of the most dramatic moments of this episode was with this character that they run into. What was his name? I wrote a note. I think it was Brian. His name is Brian. They run into Brian, and he begs for his life, and it's harrowing. It is incredibly sad. And prior to this, you can see Ellie playing with the gun and playing with the ideas of violence and being curious about how to be violent herself and to be more like Joel, because I think she wants to be like Joel. And and in that, she has her first instance where she has to shoot. She shoots this guy. She shoots this guy that's almost successfully offing Joel, pops him in the back, and then this guy starts begging for his life, like, take me back to my mother, save me, please, we'll leave you alone, just please don't. And then and Ellie has to leave, and you can see her wiping these tears, and it's not that she wants to care, and I got this from the podcast, these aren't my original ideas, but it's not that she doesn't want, or it's not that she wants to maintain and save her innocence. She doesn't, and is embarrassed by her tears, that she cares, and she wants to be rid of that. She wants to be rid of her giving a shit about life and this guy's life. She wants to be able to do what has to be done without it impacting her like that. She's embarrassed by her empathy, which is, wow, it's kind of next level in terms of like character development, and makes total sense in this world where you need to be able to be vicious and maintain that viciousness and not let your own desire to be good and have empathy for others kill you, end up inevitably killing you, because that's what that guy was even playing off of in the ambush, was somebody's willingness to care for someone else, especially a stranger. And so we end up having this more interactions with Joel and Ellie after this, and they're starting again to loosen up, and you even have Joel start laughing at one of Ellie's pun jokes at the end, and it's so sweet, and watching them laugh together after now this being the fourth episode and it's near the end, and you see them beginning to form a more cohesive bond. And then of course we meet Henry and Sam, and it ends in a total cliffhanger. Luckily the fifth episode is going to be on Friday, so we don't have to wait too soon. But yeah, it was a good episode. It was after the high of episode 3 and like that masterpiece quality in terms of storytelling. This felt to me just emotionally as a bit of a letdown. I didn't feel as invested in necessarily everything that was happening the way it was with Bill and Frank, like that singular story, and how impactful I think that was, again, was an anomaly in storytelling. So this was more of the getting back to the grind of telling this full arc, in the 9 episodes I think it is that they're going to be doing. So it's good. I'm excited for step 5. I think they hinted at the bloater briefly with Kathleen and her right-hand man. So I'm excited to see what that's going to turn up. Something with the ground heaving. So that should be cool. But yeah, let me know what you think. Put your comments down. That'd be awesome. Be sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Thanks, beautiful people. Bye.